Well, can you believe it? We've made it to March and hopefully we're getting ready for spring. And I just thought I need to brighten things up a little bit with what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back to one of my favourites, which I've done again and again and again, which is a Suffolk puff. So I decided to go for some really bright colours because everything I've done so far has been a little bit muted. I'd got a little bit of flowery fabric. So I thought, right, it's a circle. Let's go for a Suffolk puff and use that as the inspiration for my colours. So I've sort of gone teal and yellow with my piece. We're going to limit throughout materials because it always makes me smile when I see people auditioning their fabrics and they've got loads of stuff, but it's just a little tag. So I'm going with a backing fabric. So this is a bit of upholstery fabric with, as you know me, I love my edges. But I think with this one, I'm going to make sure my edge goes actually off the edge of my tag. So let's get started. Look at cutting the pack. Okay. So I'm going to have it so my little fringe goes over the top. I just need to neaten that just down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so just single colour for the background. I'm going to add a lace trim off the bottom. So I've got this beautiful lace here that I thought would be really pretty. Looking at that now though, I'm not 100% sure. It might just be a little bit big. Oh, that's pretty. It's got some little like clover leaves, bit of good luck. I think we all need a bit of good luck sometimes. So I'm going to go for 3 of those. And I've got that little wave at the bottom. Okay. So the background for this is going to be really, really simple. So I'm going to have a bit of lace. It's going to dangle just off the bottom. So again, let's grab a couple of pins. That's there. I've been very decisive with this one. So we've got that. Then I've got another little bit of fabric. It's a little bit of wool, which I thought was a little bit cute, just to add a little bit of something else. I'm just going to cut out just a small piece of that. Can I have that at that side? Again, just pin it in place. So I'm only using 3 bits of fabric for my backing. And then another piece of fabric, we're going to make a Suffolk puff or a yo-yo, depending on what you want to call them. So the bit of fabric that I have got, looking around, lost my ruler, is 1, 2, 3, 4 inches across diameter. So we've done this before, making Suffolk puffs, but if you're new to this, I'll go through it again. So you want a circle of fabric. And what we're going to do is finger fold the edges in. So this is the wrong side, right side. Finger fold about 1/2 centimetre in. I've got my thread with a knot on the end. And what we do is a running stitch around. And as you go around, you keep folding under the edge as you're going along. Try and keep your stitching evenly spaced. Okay, so just turn, fold your edge under, keep stitching, oops, and working your way around. Now I'm just going to do one large Suffolk puff on this tag, but as always, feel free to do whatever you would like. They're quite nice to sit and do these once you get into the rhythm of just turning, folding and stitching as you're going along, and it slowly starts to gather in your circle. They always make me think of shower caps, like a little frilly shower cap. So again, just as you're going around, fold it, little running stitch. Try and keep that turning as equal as you can. Doesn't matter if it's not 100%. And keep your stitching. I think it's the stitching being fairly regular as you're going around. So then you get a nice regular gathering as it comes round to the edge. So hopefully you've been out and about, if you can. Hopefully the flowers are coming up and it's just making you feel a bit more positive. Okay, right, so when we've gone all the way around, you're just going to start to pull that thread and it gathers everything in. So just have a bit of a play, try and get that little bit in the middle. Once you've got it tight, just get your needle, just pop a little knot in just to stop it from slipping. Okay, oh, there we go. Just a little knot. Oops. Okay, then you just play around with your fabric, just even round all your little folds. You can give it an iron if you want it to lie really nice and fat, but usually as long as you hold it in the middle and then just pinch and pull your fabric, you end up with some really nice flat down. Okay, and then that is going to get stitched onto our backing. So again, just pin it in place. So I've pinned everything today, and then it's just a case of stitching it all down. So to do the Suffolk puff and to stitch that down, oh, it's perfect timing, just got a cup of coffee delivered, thank you. Oh, and a packet of biscuits. Perfect, thank you. Oh, perfect timing to keep me going this afternoon. Okay, so stitching down, if you do your Suffolk puff first, because that'll stitch down quite a bit of that background. I'm not going to worry too much about trying to stitch over the fringing on the end, but it's basically just a little stabbing stitch. A stabbing stitch is just where you've come up with your thread and you're going to go down practically next to where it came up. So they're really, really small so that you can't really see them. Now, if you want to, you could add a button on the front of your Suffolk puff. They look quite nice. I'm going to leave my Suffolk puff naked. Just want the fabric. These colours make me smile. So I've got a teal perlé thread and a yellow one. So I've taken inspiration for the colours from the little bit of patterned fabric that I've had. So as we're going through all these tags and looking at lots and lots of different stitches, you can start bringing in as many different types of stitches as you want. So if you're a beginner to embroidery, and I know there's a lot of you have started doing hand embroidery with this challenge, just stick to things being really, really simple. But we've already looked at different knots, we've looked at fly stitch, we've covered straight stitch and cross stitch, so you've already got quite a wealth of stitch knowledge in your repertoire. So start mixing those in. Take inspiration from your fabric to give you ideas as to what you could stitch. I always do that. Right, take those pins out. So that's our Suffolk puff. Stitch down. Now it is open at that end, so what I am going to do is just in a couple of these creases, just try not to get the top end of the fold, just so that it keeps it down, it doesn't end up coming out. Just opening up a little crease and then just popping a stitch, because I can't stitch around the outside because the fabric is fringed, so there's nothing really to stitch to. So if I just pop a couple of little stitches there, that will just keep that down. There we go. Okay, so we've got our little Suffolk puff stitched in, and take the pins out for that because that's holding these bits in. So I'm going to change thread. You'll notice when I do this I usually have a couple of needles threaded with the colours that I'm going to use. I just find this so easy to do because you can just pick up another needle without having to rethread it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch the lace in at the bottom. So I'm just going to do a little running stitch. What do you want, Neve?
Just drop some paper.
Yeah? Is that plain paper?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little hint of yellow. Bye. That was my youngest. My room becomes like a second shop for everybody for whatever they suddenly need. Okay, so a little bit of yellow just popping around the bottom. So I'm just following the line of the lace just to get that in place. As you know, I like to get as much stuff stitched down as possible because then I can remove the pins and then you can play around a little bit easier with stitch because it's such a small piece of work. So you've not got it in a hoop, you are just working with it in your hand. I always find if I've got pins in and if I leave the pins in, I usually just end up sticking them in myself. Which is not the best thing to do. Okay, so I've got my yellow across the bottom, which I quite like. So I've got everything stitched down now, so you start looking at things. So I've got a line there and I've got a little bit of my lace sticking out, so it'd be quite nice to do something with the yellow stitch, and I could even stitch something coming straight down over the top of my Suffolk puff. So you could just leave it like this and just decide, you know what, I'm done, that's it, I'm fine. Like I've said before, you can fit this to your week. So if you're having a week where you just need to de-stress, use your tags as a little bit of a de-stress. Sorry, just have to have a little bit of a drink. There we go. Bit of a de-stress. So I said we're going to come down here. So I could bring back in the fly stitch that we've done before. People ask me about the fly stitch, about is there a right or wrong way to do it, because when they looked at different tutorials, different people did it slightly differently. It really doesn't matter. This is just the way that I do it, and I'm left-handed, so because I tend to learn things from somebody that's right-handed, you end up having to sort of adjust the way that you work and sort of make it fit for you. So I'm quite happy for people to make it fit for them. But basically it's just a stitch that goes down, you trap a thread underneath it, oops, sorry, and then you have a little stick that goes down from it. The sticks can be different lengths, so you can do a fly stitch as a single stitch on its own. They can look really, really nice if you do them and then pop a little French knot in the V. So mixing and matching your stitches also works really, really well. But like I say, however you want to do this is perfectly fine. Love to see you sharing and continuing our community. So there's two different ways you can do this. One of them is if you're on Instagram, just use the hashtag. So in the comments, if you put the hashtag 52 tags handmade, and if you follow that hashtag, so you can follow hashtags, just go to the search button and search the hashtag, and it'll bring up all the posts where everybody's put them, and you can see then everybody's work. If you're on Facebook, what I'm doing with that is I'm doing one post a week where I put on what the tag is, my tag, and then you can just add a photograph underneath of your tag, and you can comment and like other people's as well. I just thought that that was going to work out better because things were everywhere and I couldn't keep on top of it. I can't comment and like everybody's posts. If I was doing that, I wouldn't do anything else during the day. I do go on every now and again and I try and like as many as I can see, but seeing as though we're a community, make sure you're liking each other's. Even if it's not your cup of tea, everybody's going to do something slightly different, and I think that's what one of the beauties of this project is, that everybody's taking it. They're watching the same thing, they're seeing the same things, they're hearing the same things, but everybody's putting their own twist on it, which is either because they don't particularly like that theme that week, and that's fine. It could be a limitation of people's stashes and what you've got available to you, or just what you fancy doing that week. So be kind to everybody and let's really build up a lovely community of people. So look at that. That's, oh, I like that. So just adding that over the top just brings it all together. And I think probably what I will do is I might just do a little bit more stitching over here, but because I want the Suffolk puff and the lace sort of to be the main focal point, I don't want to detract too much from the stitching, so I'll probably just do a little bit round here, which you'll be able to see in the photos just after this video. But that's going to be tag number 10, which is a Suffolk puff and some lace. I'll see you next week.